A Swift Kick in the Ass, episode 18.
Welcome to a Swift Kick in the Ass podcast, hosted by lifelong friends Tom Stewart and John Curren. Today's episode is a special feature covering Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power.
Welcome, I'm Tom Stewart. I'm joined with my lifelong friend John Curren. And today we're continuing our ongoing series of Robert Greene's book, The 48 Laws of Power. Today we're covering Law 12, Use Selective Honesty and Generosity to Disarm Your Victim. John?
You have to love it when they call it your victim. The judgment is one sincere and honest move will cover over dozens of dishonest ones. Open-hearted gestures of honesty and generosity bring down the guard of even the most suspicious people. Once your selective honesty opens a hole in their armor, you can deceive and manipulate them at will. A timely gift, a Trojan horse, will serve the same purpose. So is that like giving somebody a pie full of bees, and when they open up the pie, all these bees come out and they're like, bees!
There's a couple things in our society that I can think of where you want to use selective honesty. One of them, and I hope Jennifer's not listening to this. Actually, it's not going to matter because she's a very, very fit woman. But when your wife asks you, does this dress make my butt look big? And you're not going to say, yeah, it does make your butt look big. You might say, it is very well fitting, or it actually accentuates your curves, but you're never going to say, yeah, it's making your ass look fat, you know?
I just say, your ass looks kicking, baby.
Right. Well, I always tell her she's dynamic anyway, so. But, you know, there's things like that. I mean, I guess you would use selective honesty. I get this in the gym a lot too, where people will come up in you talk about disarm your victim. Right before we roll is when we actually wrestle in jiu-jitsu. The guy you'll get someone sometime, they'll be like, oh yeah, my arm is hurt, my left kneecap is hurt, so let's go easy, right? And I've had some back pain. I was like, all right, we'll go easy. And all of a sudden they're all over you like a maniac, and you're like, what the hell, man? You know, and they disarmed me because I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go a little bit lighter and softer, and they take advantage of the situation and try to manhandle me.
Yeah, and I think that's the penalty that you pay for that selective honesty or selective dishonesty in that case, because don't you want to fight harder when somebody tells you, hey, you know what, let's go easy today, and then they do exactly the opposite of what they said they were going to do. Right. I mean, then you really want to kick their ass.
It happens all the time too.
Yeah.
You know, mainly a lot of times with like younger guys, you know, I think it's the old man mentality, or they think, oh, this is an old guy, he's going to be easy. And then, you know, they're a little surprised, and they like, you know, there's an ego thing. Yeah, I've been sick for the last couple of weeks, and you haven't been training as hard. And it's like, okay, I'm 47 years old, have a pot belly, and you know, I'm twice your age. Okay.
You know, and I think this is the law that is great because it directly goes along with our names. You know, you get a swift kick in the ass when you obey this law. You know, this chapter had me thinking about a book I read a few years ago. I even forget what the name is, but it talked about how trust is the foundation of all relationships. And the most easiest way to think about it is when you're with someone that you trust, you're very open, your guard is down, you can talk about anything, and that person also understands you. There's a direct flow of communication that's just, you know, and it's open. The valve of communication, if there is such a thing, is open wide. When you're talking or dealing with somebody that you don't trust, you are guarded, you watch what you say, you are thinking back about what they said to you and kind of second guessing things that they've told you, and it really gets you wondering. And it all boils down to trust. So, like Tom said in the fight, you're trusting your opponent is telling the truth and that they're not hurt. And when you get out there on the mat and they start, giving it to you full throttle, you find out that you're deceived, and then that hurts, and it'll backfire.
Yeah, because you're first of all, you're a training partner. You're not in a real fight. You're not in a competition. You're not, in an MMA fight where you're trying to win at all cost. You're there to get better and help each other. So you have to be honest. Just like any kind of relationship, you speak about trust. Trust is also very important in business relationships. Is probably the most important. In fact, that's really when people buy from you, usually they're buying from you because they trust you. In fact, I don't know if the book that you read was The Speed of Trust. That's one of them that's popular.
I think that was.
And Stephen Covey speaks a lot about, I think that's his 8th habit, I believe, from the creator of the 7 Habits book of highly effective people. I think the 8th habit is on trust. And if you don't have trust, you don't have anything. And that's part of, getting people to know you and know who you are, and, having relationships. And that's why salespeople take their clients for lunch or dinner or take them for entertainment. It's to build that trust and that rapport, so they realize they're dealing with people. They buy from other people and people they like. They don't buy from people that are trying to just pull something over on them or seem dishonest.
Yeah, I agree completely with you. In fact, there's a commercial here in the Richmond area for an attorney that's dealing with insurance adjusters, and he makes mention saying that the insurance adjusters are really buddy with you for the first couple of weeks. They develop a rapport, your trust, and then when it comes down to it, they hold all of that against you. And he says, I know all their tricks because I used to be an insurance adjuster. And, he's not going to let them get away with that. So I think it's true in all facets of life, really, whether it's your personal relationships or work, or just meeting someone out on the street. Trust is really the foundation of all relationships.
Yeah, they mention in the book, in China, they talk about giving before taking. That's I guess a famous philosophy in China. And when I was thinking about it, I was like, that's really what's happening on the internet right now. When you see all these free ebooks and free reports, and we even have a free tool on swiftkickinass.com in exchange for your email. Because usually what happens right now, we're just trying to build a relationship with our listeners. But what happens usually is people have something to sell, and they're trying to build a relationship through email to get the people to trust them. And then periodically they'll say, hey, here's an offer, or here's an affiliate offer of someone I'm doing some business with, and I think it might really help you. But that's what it's all built on. It's almost funny now because everywhere you go, it's like, I got this free ebook, and ebooks their value has decreased. It's not like you have like a real book that's just been changed into a PDF. Now half the time it's, they're more special reports, or not even that. They're like something that, my 11-year-old would turn into his teacher when he's feeling kind of lazy.
As I think about it, Tom, the commercial has evolved. I mean, and I tell my kids this all the time when they see something on TV, and of course they're saying, "Buy it, Daddy. It's only $19.95." What are installments?
6 easy installments.
Yeah.
You brought that up because I was just talking to my son Hunter the other day because we were watching one. It looked like the George Foreman grill, but it had 3 easy installments of like $69.95, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty expensive for a damn George Foreman grill. But it wasn't that one. It was like a knockoff of it. And it's funny because every time I see those kind of commercials, he's become so attuned to it because we talk about it and discuss it that he knows all their tricks. And he'll say, yeah, just 3 easy installments. He mocks it. It's hilarious.
Yeah. And that's what's so great about these laws and knowing these laws inside and out is that you can identify them when you're faced with them, so you're not taken advantage of.
I used one of them. I don't want to say specific because it was a work-related thing, but I used one of the ones we just covered a couple episodes back, and I used it the very next day, and I was like, you know what? It was the don't argue. That was the law, and I was ready something happen, and I was like, I knew that I was justified in my actions, and I could have been texting back and saying, blah 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 blah, and it just said okay, and I'll just suck it up, and it went away. But my first reaction was to fight, and it was better that I did not.
Yeah, and that's what's so great about understanding these laws. You talked about Hunter watching commercials and picking that out. I've been telling my kids for years and years, commercials are there to sell you something. It's not to help you out. It's to sell you something. They have a product. I remember back when we were kids, and they had all the different toy commercials. And, man, those toys looked fantastic. I mean, G.I. Joe had the Kung Fu grip, and, this action figure would do this and that, and, they do everything but clean your room. And when you finally got that product, I was often disappointed because it really wasn't that big of a deal. They're just marketing to you and catering. But
I think we both got those. You mentioned that because the back of the comic books had the on the back of every single comic book there was either Romans or Army Men. And I want to say that you ordered the Army Men and I ordered the Romans, and you were supposed to get like 100 guys, and they were all posing different poses, and like mine came with catapults, and I think yours had like Gatling guns or tanks or something like that. And you think, wow, man, they're going to be like Army Men. Even if it's Army Men, it would have been cool because it was something different. However, when you got them, they were flat. Almost like a model, like how they were attached to the thing. I don't know if you remember that, but you had to peel them off the frame, and you're like, they're flat. They were like on little bases, but they were like the cheapest figures you could possibly imagine. And I was so disappointed because on the back of it was an illustrated drawing, so it looked really cool. I was like, man, I'm going to get all these Romans, and they're going to be and different teams and different colors. But it was just, I remember they were yellow. I think that was it. They were just all yellow, and I was like, this sucks.
Thanks for bringing up that disappointment now. It's fresh in my mind now, and I remember it like it was yesterday and how disappointing that was. Thanks a lot, Tom. I'm just kidding.
I think we melted them after that.
Yeah, we probably took some firecrackers.
We were little pyromaniacs.
And blew them up. But a few minutes ago, I talked about the evolution of commercials, and it is just intertwined these days in mass media. If you look at some of these TV shows, now that we bring it up, maybe you'll pick it up even more. They're selling products. I mean, there's something as product placement. We're all familiar with your favorite actor, drinking a can of Coke. But if you notice, like on The Voice, they offer the lines of clothing that the contestants wore, and they're like, "Do you like what so and so wore?" And they show the guy or the girl, in this 360 view, with the wind going through their hair and all done up, and they're selling the clothing that you've been watching. It's not it's right there out in the open. They're not even trying to hide it. But I think we just become immune to it.
I'm going to give you two examples that are very pronounced. One of them was on WB, where every time they gave an episode of Buffy the Vampire Killer or something like that, or Slayer, and or Smallville or something like that, they would always play top kind of pop music in it along it,
That's right.
throughout the episode, and at the end they would say, hey, if you like this, check out so-and-so's album on whatever they were promoting. And so they actually showed the albums at the end and where you could buy that song. And and now The Walking Dead, if you ever notice, they always drive that little piece of crap car, but it's like a brand new car. It's like a little 4-cylinder car, and they all hop in it. It's always the same little car, and it's, I don't know if it's a Prius or something. I forget who's sponsoring them, but it's a brand new car. I'm like, wait a second. How could it be a brand new car if the apocalypse happened at least a year ago? and here they are driving around a brand new car.
And how do they have fresh gas? I mean, I have a real problem with that. The zombies, I have no problem. The Voice does the same thing with the music. The songs that the contestants sing, and and turn the chairs with, are also offered at the end of the show. They say, go to iTunes if you want to download the song that they auditioned with.
Yeah, and you'll see
it's brilliant.
Some of those shows you'll see them drinking a Diet Coke. I mean, it used to be when we were kids. If you remember all the movies, if they had anything that was like a beer or a soda, it was like some generic mock-up, and they couldn't use the real one in there because they didn't have permission, so they always had to use these generic ones. But somewhere, someone in marketing got the brilliant idea for product placement and was like, you know what? Why don't we go to Coca-Cola and say, hey, we'll use your product in our movie, and it'll be like a subliminal commercial, and people won't even realize that they're using their favorite actor is drinking your product, and it's a win-win for both of us.
And I think it really does. I mean, this law really does apply in that way. They're using selective honesty and generosity to disarm their victim. I mean, they're offering, free downloads. They're offering you an opportunity to, wear what the contestants are wearing. So, they're selling products, but it's really hidden. It's not there in the open.
True.
Observance of the law.
Inside the book, The Observance of the Law, they always give a little story that shows you either the observance or the transgression or reversal of the law. Well, in the observance, there's this guy named Count Victor Lustig, and what this guy was, he was a con man. He spoke multiple languages. He was very, very slick and polished. So what he did is he decided to go to the famous gangster Al Capone. And, if you're going to try to con Capone, man, you got to have some cojones, right? So he goes into Capone and he says, can I borrow $50,000? And within a couple months, I'm going to double it for you. You don't have to do anything. I promise this will be one of the easiest deals you've ever made. So Al Capone looks at the guy and he's like, he knows if he's wrong, that he's going to be, swimming with the fishes. So he's like, all right, I tell you what, I like your presentation. I'm going to take a chance on you. I'm going to loan you $50,000. So Lustig, being the con man he is, he just took the money and he put it in a bank safe deposit. Went away for a couple months. I think he went to New York, did some other shady deals, came back to Capone, pulled all the money out, and brought it to him and said, sir, I'm so sorry. I'm really, really, really sorry, but the deal did not work out as I had planned. I apologize sincerely. So, Capone's looking at him like, all right, boys, we get the concrete shoes out. This guy's going to be, swimming with the fish, and I just lost $50,000. But to his surprise, he pulled back all the money and he gave it pulled out of his pocket and goes, here's your $50,000. He chewed a penny. And I'm sorry it didn't work out. Maybe in the future we could work together, but I sincerely apologize. It did not work out, and I didn't want to, tell you something that was not true. And Capone, being so, he's surrounded by sharks all the time. You talk about the person that's in power. Capone's like the ultimate power. No one's going to say anything to him because, he's the Godfather. He'll whack you, So Capone, seeing an honest guy, or what he thought was an honest guy, was like, you know what? I feel bad for you. It's not often I see someone that I do business with as honest as you, Lustig, and I'm going to give you $5,000 to help you out and get you out of whatever trouble you're in. So what the real deal was is Lustig had no idea, no scam to get the $50,000. He didn't want that. He just wanted the $5,000, and he knew that if he could get Capone and prove to him that he was an honest man, that Capone would feel comfortable and do something in return for him, and that's what he did.
Yeah, he says, "You've got some balls. I like you." And he says, "You're honest. You're honest."
Yep.
Can't even imagine that. I feel bad for you because you didn't make any money. You saved me money because now I don't have to put you with the fishes.
Yeah, I tell you, one of my bosses was an Italian guy, and his dad was in the mafia, and loyalty and honesty. That's why he kept me. Wherever he went, he always brought me along because he knew he could trust me. I remember one day he told me, he goes, you know what, you're so loyal that I bet if I asked you to crap in your pants right now, you would. I wouldn't, but I gave that impression that I would, and to this day, I mean, he called me not long ago asking if I wanted to work for him again. I politely declined just because of his location, but something like that, you build up trust and loyalty, and in that environment when he came from the old country, and when he saw someone that was loyal, they keep you.
Yeah, I mean, loyalty these days is just, I think, gone in a lot of places. I remember back when I was in grad school that our teacher said, well, if you have more than 2 jobs, in your career, you've done something wrong. But now there is no loyalty these days to companies, it seems. I've been with my company for 15 years, and there are a number of, people with more years than me, but it seems that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems to be, less and less people that are loyal to their companies, and they just go from one place to another, wherever they're needed.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. I kind of respect and admire that whole, the way the mafia and organized crime runs things. Yeah, there's a lot of sharks, and there's all kinds of backstabbing. However, there is a certain loyalty and a certain respect that they take care of their own. And as long as you play part of the game and you stay loyal to them, I think they'll take care of you.
And as far as honesty is concerned, I think they are very upfront and honest with how they will handle things if you screw them over.
Right, you get whacked.
Yeah.
Joey, take him out back. Teach him a lesson.
Yeah. So, have we covered everything?
I think we've beat this like the dead horse, like you mentioned. That sounds like a sound effect. That is John. That's not a sound effect. I think you've been practicing that, man.
Do a donkey too.
It is a swift kick in the ass.
Many different sound effects.
Thanks for listening. Please rate us on iTunes and check out the next episode.
We'll talk to you later.
Thank you for listening to A Swift Kick in the Ass podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's content, and we ask you to please leave us a review in iTunes. Also, head over to aswiftkickintheass.com to get a free copy of the Simple Spelling Tool.